Hello, James A. Traitz, author of the book Don't Stop Your Mind with Dr. J.J. Hurtak and Dr. Desiree Hurtak. And I'm going to ask Dr. J.J. Hurtak, to continue with the question at hand.
I think it can be understood during the Cold War period that every major country wanted to have its own higher UFO technology at its fingertips. And this was one of the reasons why the government specialists were reluctant to put this information on the front table. Although it was acknowledged in New Mexico and some of the popular reports regarding the Roswell story, and throughout the world in other leading newspapers, it wasn't really fully understood in terms of the rivalry, in terms of the space race, until the early 70s.
And so it looks like we've taken some of the technology. And if you follow someone like Philip Corso, he said even fiber optics and many of the nano technologies that we have, nano film and nano fabric, is all part of information that we retrieved from extraterrestrial spacecraft, not only crashed ones, but perhaps one that landed in Kingman, Arizona, that was gifted to the American government.
I wanted to ask Dr. Hurtak, I'm saying it that way because they are both Dr. Hurtak, and to simplify this, there have been reports and descriptions of a number of extraterrestrial species, as referred to by Dr. Desiree Hurtak, including what has been referred to as the small grays, which is the prototypical 3-foot tall, large-headed gray creatures that seem to be cloned. They do not seem to have the appearance of a belly button, for example. There's a race that's been described as tall grays. There have been insectoid appearing extraterrestrials. These are not insects. These are beings that seem to be an extraterrestrial extension of the insectoid species on our planet. There have been bird-like extraterrestrials reported, and much more predominantly on our planet, reptilian-type extraterrestrials that seem to be of a very negative type. Moving on from that, I have learned from Dr. Hurtak and my other sources that we have what's referred to as the Nordic extraterrestrial that look very much like we look, mankind of this planet looks. And there are what's called tall whites and tall blues, which seem to be very highly evolved beings that are throughout the galactic creation. And I'd like to ask the Hurtaks what the meaning of all that is. And finally, I'm hoping Dr. Hurtak would explain what ultra-terrestrials are. Thank you.
Simply put, we need a new biological textbook on the different species forms. I was privileged in July of 1979 to make the first release of the description of EBs, or extraterrestrial biological entities, in Mexico City. This declassification of these alien specimens was picked up by the Mexican as well as the foreign press, and represents really our first serious attempt to look at beings no more than 1 meter or 3 feet in height, having external features similar to the human race, but other features that were dissimilar, suggesting that a process similar to cloning was used to make so many of that particular type that was regarded as the Roswell specimens. Nevertheless, there are other psychological and sociological reasons of preparing humanity at large to understand this larger biological spectrum. And to that end, we would need to talk further on this.
Right, and so what's amazing is even in the past 5 years and maybe 10 years, we're finding many of the other races even appearing on this planet, like we are Homo sapiens. But there's also Homo naledi, there's also Homo florensis, and there's some other new forms now also.
Such as the biological subspecies found in Virginia, Brazil in 1996. Then I gave a private report to scientists at the United Nations on the specimens that were recovered by the Brazilian military. Nonetheless, that which was on the front page of newspapers and magazines in Brazil never made it really to the attention of the United States because of what I consider social media and also future shock.
Right, so if we have species on this planet, it's not so odd to have many species on other planets. In fact, I think the odd thing would be to find us our genetic link on another planet, since we're supposed to have evolved here. But if you find us, as you had mentioned, the Nordics or whatever you want to call them, on another planet, that would be even more strange. And it means that we have a cosmic connection to other planetary species and that we didn't evolve here. We evolved from outer space.
The question that I would like to ask then is, could you explain and differentiate for us what the role seems to have been, for an example, with this physical reptilian race, with what games they seem to be up to, and if you could contrast that, for example, with the so-called Nordic race, or race that identifies as coming from the area of the Orion constellation. What's the difference?
Right. Well, I think it's very important that we don't get too racist, because that's a very key thing, not to like scare the audience saying we're superior to this or that. But it does seem that the reptilians had managed this planet in the past. We think the dinosaurs actually were part of the, we'll say, the manifestation of some of the hierarchy of the reptilian species doing something with this planet. Obviously, that's in the past. We're in the present. So obviously, we also feel that we're kind of in control at this point.
The substance of the universe is consciousness. Belief that the substance of the universe is matter leads to what I call a fear-greed dichotomy, as people in quiet desperation attempt to accumulate as many material possessions and riches as possible. In fact, the substance of the universe is consciousness. Therefore, it is behavior that is important as we evolve to becoming conscious.